Do it. You're alive. Okay. Well, that's, I've heard you say that before, and it hasn't always been true. So you're going to make me do this again? No, come on. You are? Wow, that's not cool, man. Not cool, bro. Not cool. You're disappointing me. You're really disappointing me. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll be okay. Man, what a bummer, though. Just deletes all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that one's saved. Weird. I don't get that at all, man. Oh, are you kidding me? That one? Wow. Okay, so just talk amongst yourselves, because apparently I need to log into this. That's a little ridiculous. Don't worry, I'm still here. Oh, you know what I feel like? You know what this feels like? It feels like in Pump Up the Volume when Harry's like, "Don't worry about little old me." When the police and everybody think they're coming to get him, and instead they find that he is using a sort of a cellular phone or a cordless phone to throw them off track. It kind of feels like that. So this is what happens when you just go live without checking things out. Okay, let's try that. Yes. Why are you asking me this now? Like now? Now you're asking me to do this? Boy. All right. Yeah, I don't blame you for not following me. We're thinking, we're thinking, we're thinking, we're thinking, we're still thinking, we're still thinking. I don't know why we're still thinking. There was an issue with the streaming destination. Okay, so what's interesting here is it says it's having an issue with the streaming destination, even though last time it said that, everything was just fine. So I don't know what to make of that. This is all just an experiment, everybody. Yeah, this is just something I'm trying. You should see how I'm rigged up here with rubber bands and all kinds of stuff. But I need to check and see how the quality is on that other end. I need to be able to go live. School's out, so that means my son isn't sucking up all of my bandwidth. Nothing sucks up bandwidth like your kid logging onto this school system during COVID. So I need to see what the quality is, the sound quality, the video quality, all that kind of stuff. This is just kind of a big experiment, but it's a cool experiment because what I really wanted to talk about today was my debut novel, Party. If you're just joining us, hi. My name is Tom Leveen, and I'm an award-winning author with 9 traditional novels out with imprints of Random House, Simon & Schuster, and a couple of others. I've also written for the comic book series Spawn and for the BattleTech universe, which I can finally say because the magazine just came out this month, and I'm so excited. It's one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. High school me is flipping out right now. Actually, I'm just flipping out right now because it's BattleTech, and I get to say I wrote for BattleTech. That's the greatest thing ever. But today, I want to talk about my novel Party. This is the original cover. You can probably still get this used in this cover, but there's a new cover out that's so much cooler that I really, really like, and you should go check that out. One of the things I love about Party is it's a quick read. You can see this isn't going to keep you busy, for weeks and months. It's fast-paced. It keeps moving, but there are 11 chapters, and every chapter is told from a different character's point of view. The whole story revolves around this act of horrific violence that happens at a graduation party in Santa Barbara, California, which we'll be talking about here in a moment, most likely. And every chapter in the book kind of tells that story, but from a different perspective. If you've seen the movie Crash, that was one of the story structures that inspired me to write this. I didn't know if it could be done. And that's the first thing I want to talk about today. One of the first things I want to talk about today is the structure of Party and how that came to be. I also want to talk about the film that's coming out because, oh my God, there's a movie they just finished shooting not too long ago. They're in editing right now. And in a perfect world, it will be getting into film festivals here in the next month or two. So that's super exciting. I want to talk about all of that. Remind me to come back and talk about that. But first, let's talk about the structure and how Party came to be, because I want this to be inspiring. I hope you will be inspired by this as writers or creatives, whatever it is that you do. This novel, brief history, I had an idea to take a bunch of different perspectives and slam them all into a story just to see if it could be done. One of the inspirations for that was this movie Crash. I really loved in Crash. Now, not everybody loves that movie, and that's totally okay. If you didn't like that movie, that doesn't mean you won't like this. Totally different story. But I really like this idea of, oh, you think you know what's going on until the camera kind of shifts, the point of view shifts, and now you're told a little bit more. And you're like, oh, okay, so now I get it. This guy's this, and this person's this. And you make all these snap judgments, and then we switch the POV again, and you learn another thing where you're like, oh, damn it, I was totally wrong about this person or that person. I was really intrigued by that, and I wanted to see if I could do it. This was a joke. This was a joke. Maybe joke isn't quite the right word, but it was just a challenge. It was a dare. I dared myself to do it. A lot of times what happens when I dare myself to do things is huge things happen. The last time I dared myself to write something that I had never tried before, I ended up starting a theater company that went for 13 seasons. Didn't mean to do it. It just sort of happened. Didn't mean to get published by Penguin Random House. Didn't mean for the book to go to auction between Random House and another company and watch them fight over it for the right to publish it. Didn't plan any of that. You can't plan any of that. You just tell the story. You just do the thing and let the chips fall where they may. You know, I do not believe in luck. I think, yeah, I don't believe in luck. I don't think that's a factor. I absolutely believe that you can conduct yourself and you can create things that set up situations that you may benefit from. If you want to call that luck, that's fine, but it wasn't luck. You got to work for it. I worked for it to get there. When I talk about having written for Spawn, some people are just like, oh my God, you wrote for Spawn, which is cool because Spawn was one of the best jobs I ever had. And it might, if I told you the whole story of how that happened, you might say, well, that was just luck. You just got lucky. No, I didn't though. I didn't. I put in the work. I did all this writing. I did all this work. I did all this revision. I worked within the system that I was a part of. And by virtue of doing that, I got invited into a sort of a system, for lack of a better term, an industry. Okay. And when you get into those industries, you start meeting other people and things happen and sparks fly. And the next thing you know, you're getting a phone call saying, hey, do you want to come write for Spawn? Of course I fucking want to come write for Spawn. Absolutely. But that wasn't luck. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that I was just wandering around, you know, going to the store to buy a gallon of milk and suddenly, you know, someone's like, oh my God, I don't know who you are, but come write this comic book. Like, that's not how it happens. Same thing with Party. When Party goes to auction between two big publishing houses and they're fighting over me, for God's sake, and I'm sitting here at my desk writing down these huge ass advance numbers going, I don't know what's happening, because I didn't. That wasn't luck. That was years and years and years of writing and going to classes and reading book after book after book after book and polishing my own technique and learning my own voice and taking advice from people and disregarding other advice from other people, trying to sort through all that. This doesn't happen overnight. I can't emphasize enough, and you've probably heard this before, at least I certainly hope so. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success. At least. In my case, it was at least that long. It was probably closer to like from second grade till the time I was like 28 or something like that. But this story in particular just started as a challenge. Can I take a bunch of dissimilar characters, tell one story through their points of view, and have it be cohesive? And the answer is yes. Turns out I could do it. Now, I didn't do it alone. I had help. I had people, you know, I had an agent, actually two at the time, who were very editorial, and they made suggestions that really transformed the book. And so I learned from them because they knew what they were doing better than I did. Absolutely. There were, you know, people in my family or friends who I had read it, like, does this make sense? Do you like this? And I'm taking all of this vast amount of input from other people and massaging it and working it and then crafting a final piece out of it. That doesn't even include the editor who actually bought the story and the editors, the copy editors and the content editors and the line editors and all the people, the book designers, the people who made it look good. That doesn't even count all of them. You know, there's so many people involved in the creation of this one book, this one story. It's amazing. Okay. So I just set out to say, can I take all these dissimilar characters and put them in a story together and make it make sense, make it good, make it entertaining? And I did that. Most of the stories in Party existed in some other form before they were a part of Party. As a matter of fact, one of the stories I like to tell about it is one of the chapters in there was originally going to be a horror short story. It was going to be a whole like scary monster kind of thing that I just never got around to finishing. But I plucked that out of my files and reworked it a little bit, decided what the story was going to be, and I shoved it into this sort of basket called Party, and it worked. There was stuff that I had maybe a paragraph for. Beckett, the first character who some of you might be familiar with, who says those infamous lines, "I'm the girl nobody knows until she commits suicide. And suddenly everyone had a class with her." You know the one I mean. Because you do know the one, right? You know the one she's talking about. So she was originally just a paragraph, a very, very short paragraph that I dictated to my wife while we were driving out of Santa Barbara on our honeymoon. That's where her whole chapter came from, just that one little bit. And that happened like 5 years or something like that, before I ever wrote this book in its some parts. Other parts like that, there was stuff that I had that was whole cloth that I put into the story. The original version that I turned into my agent at the time, I think we had 15 chapters. I think there was 15 or so altogether. So there are entire chapters that just got completely ripped out of the book and left on the cutting room floor, so to speak. Why? Because that's the process. That's how it works. That's what you have to do sometimes. It's that whole kill your darlings thing. You have to be willing and able and capable of tearing stuff out when it doesn't fit. Now, the cool news on that front is if you purchase Party today or sign up for if you sign up for my email list today, you will get a free copy of Party sent to you. And in that copy is the special edition. And the special edition includes one of those chapters that ended up on the cutting room floor. Why is it in there? Well, it didn't in and of itself add to the final story that I was telling, but it does give you insight into some other characters. So it's one of those things where it was a kind of a hard decision to do, but it was the right decision at the time of publication. It was the right choice to pull it from the final version of the published edition. But now we have a special edition, and it's like, when you used to get DVDs and have, special edition stuff that you could go and read or experience with the director, the actors. It's kind of a behind the scenes look. So you can get this book for free right now at tomleveen.com/signup. One word. tomleveen.com/signup. Pardon me. Just had breakfast. Anyway, so more about luck. It was over a year ago now, right about the time the pandemic was hitting its full swing and everybody was in lockdown, everybody was staying home, Gary Vaynerchuk was doing a live event every morning called Tea with Gary V, or Tea Time, I think it's Tea with Gary V. If you don't know who Gary V is, if you don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, that's okay, unless you are a creator or an entrepreneur or a small business person. If you are any of those things and you don't know who Gary V is, I don't want to tell you to leave what you're watching right now, but please, for the love of God, go look up Gary V. V-E-E, Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not even going to try to spell it out loud because I'll mess it up, but you got to know who Gary V is. Even if you end up disagreeing with everything he says, that's fine, but you got to know who he is, okay? Anyway, Tea with Gary V. He was going live every morning, and I spent a week trying to get a slot because he is so sought after. Thousands and thousands of people are, trying to get, 5-10 minutes with this guy. But I finally got in. And I asked him a question. If I remember, I will try to drop a link here to the video where you can watch the whole thing. It's about 14 minutes long. But we had this great back and forth. I had some questions about my career and about my creativity and about the junk that I keep in my head and in my heart, my emotional baggage, mental illness, the whole, all this stuff. We had a great conversation. And out of that came multiple new relationships. One of those relationships was with an independent film producer in Los Angeles who called me up after seeing me on Tea with Gary V. He's like, "Hey man, what are you up to? Send me something. I don't care what it is. Just send me your favorite book." And I was like, "I don't know. I like Party a lot. I think Party has a lot of potential." I've been working on trying to get some kind of film thing with Party forever. Maybe a feature, maybe a pilot TV show, whatever. I just wanted to do something with it on film. So I was like, I'm going to send him Party. So I sent him Party, and he called me back like 48 hours later or something like that saying, "Dude, I want to make this movie." And I was like, "Sweet, let's do it." That's how that happened. And so now the movie, it's not called Party, it's now called Butterflies, which you can look up on IMDb. Just make sure you spell my name right. You can go right to it if you go to IMDb. That movie has finished filming, and it's in the process of editing right now. And in August, it's going to start being shipped off to all the big film festivals. That's not luck. That's not luck. You got to back up to all the stuff that had to happen, all the work that had to go into that. Writing Party, taking these little bits and pieces of stuff that should have been scrapped, that there were just bits and fragments of stories lying around on my hard drive that I then forced into this thing and massaged and worked until it became a cohesive whole. That was work. Getting an agent, that part, my God, if any of you who've tried to do that, you know what that sensation is like, what that experience is like, trying to get an agent, all of that. Then all the edits with both of those agents, and then all the edits with my editor and with my editors at the publishing house, and all that stuff, right? Not to mention the fact that I had to wake my ass up at 4 o'clock in the morning because Gary Vee was on Eastern time and started live at like 6 or 7 in the morning. So I had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning for like 4 or 5 days in a row, texting into his team saying, can I get in today? How about today? Maybe today? How about today? And all this stuff until they finally got me in line. Like, that wasn't easy. It wasn't. That required effort on my part. And it just so happened that this one particular person was watching or watched a replay of it or whatever and reached out and contacted me. And now this is a feature-length film. What happens next? I don't know. Are we going to get into Sundance? Are we going to get into Tribeca? All these different film festivals? I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. It's a very competitive thing to do. I've submitted stuff to film festivals before. I've made short films and submitted them. It's really freaking hard to get into a big festival. It is. But it could happen. And if it does, it won't be luck. It'll be everybody who put so much time and so much energy and so much heart and passion into telling that story. That's not luck. That has nothing to do with luck. I just want you to be thinking about that. I want you to know that, and I want you to know that whatever you're working on now, whatever your work is, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a creative thing or if it's a non-creative thing. Whatever that thing is that you are working on, or that you should be working on, or that you want to be working on, keep working on it, because that's how this stuff happens. It just does. It just does. It'll pay off. One of the things Gary Vee said that I really like, and I'm trying to remember right now, I've been struggling, frankly, myself for the last, couple of 7 or 8 years. But one of the things that Gary Vee said, and it wasn't in our interaction, but he said it in other places, was to build processes you love. Build processes, however you want to say it. Build processes that you love. Because that may be all you get. There was no guarantee, none whatsoever, that this book was going to be published by a major publisher and sent out to Barnes & Noble and all that kind of crap. Like, there was no guarantee of that whatsoever. Certainly no guarantee that someone was going to just call me up after seeing me on a YouTube video and say, hey, can I make a movie for you? Like, you can't count on those types of things. You just do the work and put the stuff in place and work for it and hope for the best. The thing is, I would have written the book anyway. That's it. Because writing that book, writing all of these books, all this stuff that you see up here, I love the process. I love writing novels. Right now, I don't have an agent right now. I don't have anything guaranteed to come out. I had I had my Battletech magazine that just came out. Super pumped about that. That is so cool. I've got a short story in an anthology coming out in the next several months, I think. That's really cool. We've got the movie thing. I'll be able to actually watch the feature-length film that was based on my book. That's really cool. There's all these little, bits and pieces, but there's all these also really big pieces that haven't been coming together. And it sucks. Guys, no bullshit. It sucks. It's hard. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed. I feel like everybody else in the world, of course, is having great keeping success except me, right? Which is not true. But that's how it feels, and you know that feeling, right? Okay. Still going to write books. I'm going to write books because I love the process of writing books. You have to build processes you love. Again, whatever it is you're interested in. If you're not, a creative in the way that I am, cool. Maybe it's your model train set. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe it's cooking. Maybe it's whatever the hell it is that you do that really just makes you feel centered, makes you feel who you are. Build a process around that you love, because there's no guarantee that Hollywood's going to call. There is no guarantee that Todd McFarlane's going to be like, you want to write for Spawn? There is no guarantee that Random House is going to be like, yes, we'll buy this for a shit ton of money. You can't plan on any of it. All you can plan on is, in this limited little amount of time you have on walking this earth, is to enjoy the thing that you love to do, and to build processes around it that make you happy and fulfilled. And when I do that, I am happy. When I don't do it, life sucks. When I get sucked into industry stuff, when I get sucked into the money stuff, when I get sucked into the business stuff, it's harder. Now, a lot of that I still enjoy. I still enjoy the money stuff. Honestly, I've come to enjoy it. This is my business. This is what I do. I have an LLC. I am my brand. This is it, right? I love learning about the marketing. I love, trying all these different things, including exactly what I'm doing now. This is all part of that process. But I'm doing a process that I love. And what do I love? I love the sound of my own voice. I love hearing myself talk about this stuff, and I love sharing it with you. All of those things come together and create a process that I love doing. And so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm hopefully, in a perfect world, I am live on like 5 or 6 different platforms right now. I have no idea. Okay. And do I believe that someone's going to see it and be like, oh my God, this is the guy, call him up right now? Probably not. I mean, like, just statistically, no. I can't do it to count on that. I do it because I love the process. That's the main thing. That's one of the things I want you to take away from this today. Build those processes. Processes? I think it's processes. I'm going to have a sip of coffee now. Talk amongst yourselves. Which reminds me, this is my little snowman cup, reminds me of something else that I'm doing right now. Last Saturday, I started doing a live horror short story performance thing on Clubhouse. I presume you've heard of Clubhouse by this point. If you haven't, you should look it up. To the best of my knowledge, it is still only available on iPhone. I know they're working on changing that. I don't know if it's happened yet. But every Saturday at midnight Eastern, I do a show called Midnight Nightmares, where I read short horror stories. And it was so much fun. And when we did it last weekend was our debut, and my producer, for lack of a better term, Francine, was like, nobody might come. We don't know. We can't tell. It might be completely empty. I just don't want you to, understand that. I'm like, sure, whatever. And I knew that going in. I knew Francine would be there. And if nothing else, me and her would talk for half an hour, right? Instead, we had like 60 people in there. And it was awesome. And I got to read 2 short stories that I really love. And I was raised with audiobooks and old-time radio dramas, War of the Worlds and all those kinds of great things. So I love doing that. And it had been a long day, you guys. It had been a long goddamn day. I had gotten about 4 hours of sleep because my kid woke up in the middle of the night and freaked out and kept us up for 2 or 3 hours. It was this whole mess. I had to go to work that day for like 9 hours. I was exhausted. And then we went live, and it was like, jazz hands, right? I'm a theater kid, so I can do that. It was go time. And I spent the next 45 minutes on this call on Clubhouse in this room, this Clubhouse room, doing something that I love to do. I love doing audio. I always have. I can't wait to do more of it. It's kind of fallen down on my list of things to do right now because there's other things that are more important, but I'm still going to do it because I love doing it. So, number 1, tune in on Clubhouse every Saturday, midnight Eastern, which is 9 p.m. local Arizona time. I've already posted some stuff about it. You can find the links. I'll try to remember to do that again. I always post about it on like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so you'll know it's coming, but it's really fun. It's really, really fun. And I love doing it. Now, again, actually, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, how I met Francine was the Gary Vee thing. She reached out to me after seeing the Gary Vee thing. That's right. I totally forgot about that. Funny how that all works, right? And she came to me and was like, hey, do you want to do this cool horror thing? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so now it's a thing. Do I think someone is going to call me up after hearing it and be like, bro, you got to be our next superstar or whatever the hell? Like, probably not. But I do it because I love it. And it's fun. I really enjoy it. If something does come out of it, great. but I do it because it's fun, because I love the process. What was I going to say about that? Something about this party and the movie. Yeah, so we already talked about that. So let's talk a little bit more about the book, I think. How are we doing? We're doing good. Let me have a sip, and then we'll talk more about party itself. I was also drinking coffee on Saturday night, and I went down the wrong pipe, and so I started coughing and like choking, and had to mute myself for like 5 minutes because it was awful. It's like the one thing you don't want to have happen during an audio broadcast, and of course I did it because I'm a toolbox. Anyway, party. Why should you read this book? Because it's awesome. Okay, but that doesn't tell you anything, right? It's awesome. It is awesome, but that's not enough to like make you go, fuck, I gotta get this book right now. The reason you need to read this book is you are in this book. Or at least high school you is in this book. Or at least, at bare minimum, someone you know and love is in this book. That's the beauty of having 11 different narrators. It's all first person, and each one of them is telling the story from their particular point of view. And I guarantee if you went to high school in the United States, anytime from like the late 80s to the late 90s, you are in this book, or even actually later than that, come to think of it. But you are in this book. This is a story about so many different stories. The whole point of the book is there's several different themes running throughout it. One of those is that we are all connected. You can't get away from how connected we are. Me, that makes me angry. I don't like being connected to everybody. I want to stay home and be left alone. But no matter how much I might want to be home and be left alone, I'm still connected to everybody. There's still a world out there, and we all have connections. And that's one of the things the book is really about. It's that butterfly effect thing of, you do something over here, it's going to have ripples. It's going to create waves all the way over there. And we need to be aware of that. So our default should be kindness, and our default should be speaking. One of the other big themes of the story is to say words. If the characters in this book had merely said what they were thinking and what they were feeling, the book wouldn't exist, because there wouldn't be a story. There wouldn't be any conflict. There wouldn't be obstacles. There wouldn't be all those cool story things. If they'd said what they were thinking and feeling, all of the drama and all of the terror and all of the violence could have been easily prevented. Never would have happened. But they don't. They keep it to themselves. And that leads to very poor decision making on everybody's part. Which is not to say that it's a tragedy, because it's not. One of the things I've started saying about some of my contemporary YA is that you will smile, but not till the end. I generally tend, unless it's horror, I generally tend to do an upswing at the end. I don't need happy endings, but I definitely need satisfactory endings. Zero is another example of that. There's like a percentage of people who don't like the ending of Zero because it was realistic. Most people, though, love the ending of Zero because it was realistic. Anyway, we'll do that on another broadcast. But yeah, so these kids, these 11 narrators, have to go through hell to learn the things that they need to learn. They have to go through hell to discover the things that they need to discover, to make the relationships that they end up making by the end of the book. The whole book takes place over the course of like 12 hours, so it's a very condensed time span, and I work in that time span a lot. A lot of my stories and books really condense time, and I realized not too long ago that the reason I do that is because that's how our lives are lived. The reality, particularly as I get older, it might have been different when I was a teenager, but as I get older, dude, the days just blend together. Like, I don't even, like, what did you have for breakfast yesterday? Like, probably oatmeal, like, just statistically. But I could be wrong about that. Did I have an apple yesterday? I don't know. I did this week. I know at some point, you see what I'm saying? Like, things just go by. You get into a routine, and I like routine. Routine is good for us, particularly if you have children. But it can just blend things together. It's good. Like, it's not a bad thing, but it really starts to blend. But then when you ask about those moments in time that really left an impression on you, they are condensed. They are a minute or an hour or a day when this thing happened. I'm thinking right now off the top of my head, on a trip that I took with some friends to the Grand Canyon. There's a whole big bunch of us, and somebody there suffered a medical emergency. And that day, that whole moment, that 12-hour span is just seared into my memory, and I was fine. Nothing happened to me, but this thing happened, and wow, like, so that's there. But that was a small period. It wasn't months and months and months. It was this little moment. When I think about our theater company, I think about the first show that we ever did in my backyard. That whole night is seared into my memory, and I talk about it all the time because it left such an impression. And so in my stories, I tend to sort of naturally fall into that pattern of keeping things condensed, because that's how the big things happen. That's how, and we've all experienced it, right? You get the phone call, you get the email, you get the text that just in a heartbeat, literally changes everything, right? And so it's, for me, it just makes sense to write about those condensed moments. Now, as a craft thing, that might be different. For example, Hellworld. Where'd Hellworld go? Here it is. I'm not going to talk about Hell, but Hellworld, for example, available now. You have to. That's the thing. You have to. Hellworld takes place over several days. So days or weeks, it might even be weeks actually, but the structure of it allows me to hopscotch around the timeline a little bit. Structure is super, super important. I can't condense, omni-humans into a 12-hour period. I could write a book that does take place in a 12-hour period, but this particular book, Omni-Humans, that needs some space. It needs to breathe a little bit. It needs some tension to build, some suspense to build. Whereas something like Random, also, strictly speaking, takes place, again, in about 8 to 12 hours. There are lots of flashbacks, so it feels like it's a little bit longer. Manic Pixie Dream Girl technically takes place over the course of one night. Technically, Manic Pixie is like 4 hours because half the book is flashback. Those flashbacks, though, are about 4 years long. So structure, you can play with structure. If you're a writer, just remember you have these options. With Party, I wanted to keep it short. I wanted to keep it brisk. I wanted to keep it moving. The pace had to be as relentless as possible, and I think I achieved that in the story. So why should you read it? Well, number one, again, you're in the book. I guarantee you will recognize yourself or someone you love in the book, particularly if you have memories of being a teenager, or if you're a teenager now. You're like, I know that guy. Oh, that chick. It's all in there. The important thing about a book like Party, though, is that it doesn't come off preachy, and I don't believe I did that. I'm pretty confident about that, because the last thing anybody wants is to be chased after with a book or a sledgehammer or whatever saying, you need to believe this. This is an important life lesson. Like, shut the fuck up. No, don't ever do that in your books or your stories. It turns people off. It turns me off. People don't like that, and for good reason. We don't like to be talked to that way. That being said, Party is about change. All stories, all good books, all good stories are about change and growth. That's the whole point. And seeing where these characters start and where they end up. When you have Beckett with I'm the girl nobody knows until she commits suicide, then suddenly everyone had a class with her. You know the one I mean. Where does a girl who feels that way end up in the course of the story? Well, you have to read the book to find out, obviously. But there's a journey. There's a journey either into or out of that. Right? And if you've read the book, you already know how it goes. But it's an important book because it dissects and examines those relationships and how we get to them. It looks at how do we make better choices and different choices and see the results of the choices that we've made, both good and bad. That's one of the things that I really like about it. Again, not preaching. Those are just themes. The plot is about violence. The plot is about two guys who get into a fight, basically. And it's not even really a fight. It's more of a beating than it is a fight. But why they get into this fight, how they find themselves in that situation is really painful in a sense. It's really, I think there's a lot of empathy. I think all of us will have empathy for both characters because we can see how they arrived at the conclusions they did. We can see in their life story that we're told right up until they crash together, why they ended up making those choices. They're terrible choices, but you're kind of like, yeah, you shouldn't have said that, and you should have done this. Why are you doing that? No, you really, there aren't clear lines between villains and good guys in this, which is more realistic. That's what life is really like. And so if I can write a book that is entertaining, that's funny, Morrigan, Morrigan is freaking hysterical. If nothing else, just you'll enjoy Morrigan, because I guarantee you've met her before. If you're not her yourself, because she's based on me, you'll definitely recognize her. She's yeah, she's probably the funniest character in the book. But I don't know where I was going with that. When they collide, we can see why, we can see how, and we can empathize with that. There aren't villains, there aren't good guys. Life isn't that cut and dried, you know? So I think those are all very good, fantastic reasons to read the book. So this has been really good. I'm really excited to see how the quality has come out. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully the bandwidth and the stream and everything has been solid. I don't know. Leave a comment wherever you happen to be and let me know if the sound is okay, if it's been skipping, if I've been freezing, if it's pixelated. Just if you wouldn't mind dropping a quick comment letting me know what it looks like, that would be super cool. Party, again, old cover. There's a new cover now. It's the special edition of Party. It is available, should be available pretty much everywhere as an ebook or as a paperback. So pick that up, or if you don't want to pay for it, that's cool. Guess what? You can go to tomleveen.com/signup. One word. SIGNUP. Sign up. Yep. And you can get this book today, immediately, in your email box for free. Absolutely. What you're signing up for is then weekly emails, which I need to do here as soon as I'm done streaming. I'm going to try a new thing. I'm going to try recording a video to email out to my newsletter audience. I don't know. I want to give it a shot. I'll have to see how it goes. But it's a really cool community. I don't spam, obviously, because who wants that? I'm not trying to sell you stuff every time or nothing. It's just a fun weekly email that has insights, book news, encouragement, and community, I think is how I would describe that. I still need to work on my elevator pitch, but it's really cool, and I won't bother you. And you get a free copy of Party sent right to your inbox. So that's pretty cool. Do that today, tomleveen.com/signup. And you can also, whatever platform you happen to be watching right now, make sure you subscribe or like or forward, do all that kind of good stuff, because we got to get the word out there, man. We need these stories out there. By the way, we need your stories too. I don't care if you're not a writer, if you don't think of yourself as a writer, you're a human being, which makes you a storyteller. So you need to tell your story. I don't give a shit how you do it. You can write a novel, you could write a short story, you could write a poem, you could write lyrics, you could paint a picture, you could use crayons, you could use watercolors, you could grow a garden and tell people about that garden. You can blog, you can take pictures. Tell your story, because I guarantee you, if there's one thing I've learned over these last more than a decade now that I've been writing professionally, I guarantee you someone needs to hear your story. I promise you. Get it out there. Whatever format feels best to you, get it out there. Okay? Do that for me. Thank you very much for watching, for tuning in. Hopefully this will be a regular thing, but I don't know what my work schedule is going to be like moving forward, so we'll just have to see. And so this was, again, kind of a test. We'll have to just, as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go back and I have to watch this whole thing over again on every platform and see what happens. So anyway, tomleveen.com/signup to get your free copy of my debut novel, Party, from 2010. It is a fantastic novel. It's a fast read. You can get through it in a day or two, but I guarantee you will find characters and ideas in the book that you will like and that will speak to you, because it has spoken to literally tens of thousands of people already. And I want you to have that experience. All right? tomleveen.com/signup. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, all that kind of stuff on whatever platform you happen to be on right now. And with a little luck, there's that word, with a little luck, it's not having to do with luck at all. It's actually all about planning and divvying up your resources properly. I will see you next Tuesday, okay? Thank you very much. Take care. Be safe, all right? All right, here we go. See you later.